So I don't know if you remember Breonna Taylor. She was shot by cops in her house, just chilling, sleeping. And as you can see from this headline, we're taking that very seriously. The U.S. seeks 1-day sentence for police officer convicted in I mean, just let him go. Like, that's a slap in the face on every level. That is a giant FU. 1 day? I mean, that's like intentionally offensive. I cannot believe that's a real thing that's happening. So they're seeking 1 day. The U.S. Justice Department has asked a federal judge to sentence a former Louisville police officer who was convicted last year of violating Breonna Taylor's civil rights to serve just 1 day in prison, despite the fact that the conviction carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. In a court filing, the Justice Department Civil Rights Division late on Wednesday downplayed the conviction of former Louisville police officer Brett Hankison, noting that he, quote, did not shoot Miss Taylor and is not otherwise responsible for her death, end quote. The filing said that the 1 day sentence would amount to time served, since Hankison would, quote, get credit for the day he was booked and made his initial appearance. Taylor, a Black woman, was killed by police in 2020 after they executed a no-knock warrant during a botched raid of her home. Her boyfriend, who was carrying a legally owned firearm, shot at police, prompting them to fire back 22 times into the apartment. Her death, as well as the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, sparked mass racial justice protests around the country. The Civil Rights Division, during former Democratic President Joe Biden's tenure, brought criminal charges against the officers involved in both Taylor and Floyd's death. The division also launched civil rights probes, which concluded that both the Louisville and Minneapolis police departments engaged in widespread civil rights abuses against people of color. Harmeet Dillon, the Trump-appointed head of the Civil Rights Division, killed efforts to enter into court-approved settlements with those departments and rescinded the findings of the civil rights abuses in May. The sentencing memo submitted to the court in the Hankison case late on Wednesday was notable. Words are hard. Notable because it was not signed by any of the career prosecutors who had tried the case. It was submitted by Dillon, a political appointee, and her counsel, Robert Keenan. Keenan previously worked as a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles, where he argued that a local deputy sheriff convicted of civil rights violations, Trevor Kirk, should have his conviction on the felony count struck and should not serve prison time because his actions amounted to, quote, low level of force. The efforts to strike the felony conviction led several prosecutors on the case to resign and protest, according to media reports. And a person familiar with the matter, Dillon could not be immediately reached for comment on the sentencing recommendation. What an absolute fuck you. Yes, thank you. What an absolute fuck you this is to anyone who thinks that cops ought to be accountable for their actions like the rest of us. This dude just like cruised, or, I mean, whatever. They're going to argue over which cop shot, whatever. Like, you can't just stroll into somebody's house on a no-knock raid, and then when that person reacts with a legally owned firearm, I mean, do we have the right to have weapons or not? Because this is a very frustrating part about it. That if they can just shoot you if you have a gun, then you don't actually have the right to bear arms. And it's crazy that you can just roll into somebody's house on a no-knock raid, and then when that person reacts to being attacked, then you just start shooting and kill people. It's crazy. 1 day, honestly, that's just intentionally offensive, in my opinion. That is genuinely just them saying a big fuck you to Breonna Taylor and her family and all of us, really. Insane. 1 day, y'all. 1 day in prison for murdering a young girl. Just chilling in her house, sleeping. It's astonishing to me. And then, we've seen so many of these cases, and there's just never any accountability. And what I think is fascinating about that is that we are currently being marched into like a further expansion of the police state, and we're all just like blind. Not all of us, but most people are just blindly going along with it. And I think that these are the types of cases that it should make it abundantly clear, and we should all be able and willing to say that is not a thing that should be happening, and yet they're able to divide us on it all the time. It's crazy. But 1 day, they're going to give that guy 1 day, or at least that's what they're asking for. It is really just offensive.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.